Hi, my name is Peter Talbot. I've been a teacher since 2007, working in both the UK and Singapore. I recently graduated from Monash University with an MEd in Educational Leadership and Policy, where I started to develop an interest in artificial intelligence and its impact on education. Humanity is currently undergoing a considerable period of transition. A central factor in this rapid change is artificial intelligence, or AI. The use of AI has become embedded in our daily lives and has accelerated during the COVID-19 pandemic. It is leading to the automation of many jobs and has considerable implications for mankind. As an experienced educator, I'm interested in this topic through my own context. I work in a secondary school where we're struggling to keep pace with systems that use AI being rapidly adopted and where there is little time to scrutinize and consider their implications. This is not unique to my school. As I know many educators do, I feel like a passenger on this journey, being driven by the technology, unclear of our direction of travel and whether we're moving in the right way. Today, I want to talk about adaptive leadership theory and the adaptive challenge of AI in education, focusing particularly on ChatGPT. I've written about both topics and think this theory can provide a really useful framework for schools and educators to deal more effectively with these massive challenges. Adaptive leadership is a theory that focuses on how organizations evolve so that they can thrive. It's a theory developed by Ronald Heifetz, a teacher in leadership at the Harvard Kennedy School. Adaptive leadership draws on evolutionary biology, examining how species evolve in order to survive. This is then applied to organizational adaptation, where organizations look to conserve what's essential, such as key organizational values, while dispensing with the outdated, using experimentation and innovation to adapt and find new environments in which to survive and thrive. One of the key tenets of this theory is distinguishing between adaptive challenges and technical problems. Adaptive challenges are unfamiliar problems and require responses outside an organization's current knowledge, whereas technical problems are where solutions already exist. A problem with adaptive challenges is they are often treated as technical problems. This may be because the problem is not clear or the organization is in denial of the problem and is choosing to address symptoms rather than causes. Disequilibrium is a characteristic of adaptive challenges. Here, adaptation unsettles an organization as it seeks to change, with skills that may have once brought success potentially becoming redundant. The uncertainty it causes can result in conflict and a fear of loss. Adaptive leaders must help staff manage and navigate this instability by enabling them to work in a zone of productive disequilibrium. Too much disequilibrium can cause paralysis, while too little can result in the avoidance of dealing with the problem. COVID-19 and its impact on education is a classic example of an adaptive challenge. It's an unfamiliar problem that requires responses outside our current knowledge. Within education, COVID caused huge amounts of disequilibrium. It was extremely unsettling to our students, and it was extremely unsettling to educators. Leaders had to quickly learn to help staff to navigate this instability and this disequilibrium. They did this by making constant changes and adapting to the situation. The theory uses an analogy of a nightclub and moving from the dance floor to the balcony. And what this relates to is that in order to identify an adaptive challenge, it's essential to observe the problem from lots of different locations. Adaptation happens through a process of observation, interpretation, and intervention. And you can do that by getting on the dance floor or retreating to the balcony. And that's a crude way of saying that we need to see a problem from lots of different viewpoints in order to understand it, in order to solve it. Adaptive challenges require organizations to create a culture of learning and continual renewal. A key component of adaptive leadership is facilitating the development of this, with leaders orchestrating continual organizational learning. And often in schools, we're generally quite good at doing this. Learning needs to happen horizontally and vertically, and as staff become more skilled, they influence each other. Adaptive leadership theory also takes a decentralized conception of leadership. Leadership is viewed as an activity and action rather than a title bestowed on people, with anyone able to practice leadership. Here, anyone can be a leader, and leadership is a fluid social interaction where positions of leaders and followers are interchangeable, and where leadership is not something possessed by individuals. A real strength of this theory's conception of leadership is that it is empowering and decentralized. When people observe adaptive challenges, they can be entrusted to try and deal with them rather than waiting for problems to come to the attention of people in what they term authority. Affording staff greater self-determination like this not only generates greater intrinsic motivation, but it also empowers people to practice leadership in order to solve problems, enhancing an organization's ability to experiment and iteratively change. And if we think back to COVID, in many environments, this happened through schools allowing staff to make iterative change and realizing that we had to change through online learning or adapting because of the pressures that we were putting on students. Schools became more concerned about the welfare of its staff and the welfare of its students. So we often rose to the challenge. And this was because we empowered people on the ground to make changes where they thought it was necessary, and we gave them the support to do that. ChatGPT is an example of an adaptive challenge. It's an unfamiliar problem requiring responses outside school's current knowledge and is causing some disequilibrium. What challenges does ChatGPT pose to you and your area of education? Is your school approaching ChatGPT as a technical problem or an adaptive challenge? What solutions do you see to these challenges? Does your school give you the self-determination to lead and adapt to the challenges of ChatGPT and bring about change? Schools can be very hierarchical and resistant to change. ChatGPT undoubtedly presents many opportunities. What it can do is truly astonishing. It has the ability to synthesize information and can undertake tasks that will save educators and students time. There are also considerable challenges. How accurate is the knowledge ChatGPT produces? Who is the arbiter? Its systems for producing knowledge are invisible and untransparent. What are the ethical foundations on which it operates? Who regulates it? There is obvious potential for inaccurate knowledge and the perpetuating of misinformation. Knowledge itself is likely to become more homogeneous, less diverse, and more skewed towards the Western world and the English language. There are concerns regarding plagiarism and students becoming over-reliant on it to generate writing on their behalf. Here, I have asked ChatGPT to create a 200-word summary on the American artist Jean-Michel Basquiat in the style of a 12-year-old boy. The results are both amusing and pretty accurate regarding the summary of Basquiat's life, but highlight obvious problems. When I showed this to students I teach, they said I should have added emotional as a keyword, highlighting their already nuanced understanding of the platform. Currently, we do not have reliable mechanisms for identifying plagiarism. When a colleague put her own writing through an AI detector, it came up as being lightly generated by AI, while text she had created through ChatGPT was not. There is a danger that schools treat ChatGPT and AI in general as a technical problem and try and bring it into existing systems. For example, a first step many have taken is to fit it into academic integrity policies, where students are required to cite ChatGPT. While a sound first step, citing ChatGPT seems fundamentally different to a source, such as an academic journal, that knowledge can be traced back to. It, by definition, can't. Here, the paradigm seems different, but our approach is the same. As an educator, my experience tells me many students aren't going to do this. Its use is already becoming widespread, with students using it in classroom discussions to answer questions, purporting to be their own thoughts. This presents challenges to educators. Regarding issues around plagiarism, we challenge students with evidence. With text generated through ChatGPT, there is no reliable evidence, just suspicion. Are parents and senior leaders going to accept concerns raised, not grounded in evidence? Without the ability to accurately identify writing created by AI, the concern is educators just turn a blind eye. They are also likely to be overwhelmed by the sheer number of people using it. Knowingly reading a lot of content generated by machines rather than people will be a waste of teachers' time and very frustrating. Students' ability to write and articulate thoughts are also likely to be diminished. In the short term, if ChatGPT's use becomes widespread, we may see secondary and higher education courses abandoning coursework completely. Adaptive leadership theory offers a way forward for schools to learn to adapt to this new challenge. Moving around the dance floor to gain the perspectives and insights of teachers from across the school and within the wider educational community will help educators understand what the challenges and opportunities are. Giving teachers the self-determination to lead and bring about meaningful change will be a vital part in helping schools to evolve and respond to the challenge. Being on the dance floor, they are best placed to understand the problems, develop solutions, and test them. With this decentralized conception of leadership, change can happen much faster and provide an appropriate mechanism for responding to the rapid changes in technology. As the example of ChatGPT shows, this equilibrium will be inevitable. We need to support teachers in dealing with this. After all, ChatGPT is just one example of AI. With its numerous applications, change is only likely to accelerate. AI in education is a massive adaptive challenge. ChatGPT is just one facet of this. In 2020, I wrote a literature review on AI in education. Here, I want to sketch out how it may affect teaching and learning. How AI will affect teaching and learning in education is dependent on both the ethical rules that frame its use and the educational theories that underpin its applications. In order for AI to have a positive effect, there need to be clear ethical rules. There must be an international consensus and international regulations. Worryingly, at present, this does not exist. Without binding agreements, the ethics that underpin AI will vary from country to country. With minimal regulation, it will be dominated by the leading countries in this field, the United States and China. Currently, many technology companies simply ignore regulations or circumvent them through complicated user service agreements. Here, the systems for regulation have been unable to keep pace with the technological change. Artificial intelligence will have a very significant effect on teaching and learning. It will transform assessment, with automated assessment potentially becoming the norm. The orchestration of learning analytics data will make teacher interventions more targeted and more effective. Whether AI systems promote behaviorist or constructivist pedagogies will come down to educational leaders. It will be up to institutions and educational departments to assess the qualities of the systems they adopt. Does your school evaluate the systems and AI it adopts in terms of the pedagogies they promote? Applications of AI in education must be informed and grounded in educational theory. As a teacher, I naively assumed this would be true. Research in the field of learning analytics dashboards highlighted the alarming statistic that 68% of studies reviewed had no grounding in educational theory. With AI applications centering around a narrow range of providers, knowledge will become more homogeneous and less diverse. Where there is weak regulation, AI will be used to monitor students and subtly affect their behavior. In such contexts, learning is likely to be less interactive and pedagogical approaches more responsive. In this scenario, learners will be treated as consumers and correct forms of performance decided in advance. Here, AI could be used more intrusively, for example, using eye tracking, facial expressions, and arousal data to predict effort and performance. Such data could be used to nudge learner behavior towards rewards and sanctions. A pedagogical agent is an AI you learn with. Pedagogical agents can be used discreetly to manipulate learners towards desired outcomes. Pedagogical agent research has shown that females preferred learning companions who looked to develop social relationships over ones that were just task-focused. In a future where learners interact less and become more socially awkward, they are particularly vulnerable to exploitation. AI must become open and transparent. Given how prevalent AI will become, particularly in areas of decision making, this will be really vital. However, this is currently not the norm. AI often uses what we call black box methodologies that are untransparent. In such contexts, it will be very difficult to identify unfairness, with the resulting opaque decisions having a disempowering effect on learners and teachers. The application of AI throughout society will result in automation and far higher unemployment. In a study on the susceptibility of jobs to computerization, research found that 47% of US employment was at risk. If AI does create mass unemployment, it will bring into question the very purpose of education. There is a huge amount at stake. How AI is used within education has a very significant implications for all our futures. Ultimately, how it affects teaching and learning will come down to the quality of teachers and leaders and their willingness to ethically use AI to enhance educational experiences. The Fighting Temeraire tugged to her last birthplace to be broken up, 1838, painted by J.M.W. Turner. The sun setting on the era of wind-powered ships and the beginning of another, a portrait of the Industrial Revolution. Turner's painting is a reminder that we've been here before. Adaptive challenges are not new. We've faced periods of huge change and overcome the challenges new technologies have presented. Adaptive leadership theory provides a template for how schools can manage applications like ChatGPT and AI more generally. I hope I've brought into focus some of the concerns. Change is inevitable, but we need to use the technology as a tool to bring about the right changes that enhance educational experiences, rather than sitting on the sidelines and letting other stakeholders outside of education, who do not necessarily have the best interests of our learners in mind, do this for us.